In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Friends, join me as we jump off into the deep end. Hey folks, how you doing? It's Jake Johnson here, coming to you live from the internet, and you're watching Untethered, the deep end. And we are going to jump off into some Exodus and talk about some tabernacles. Great Sky Troll, what's happening, buddy? I'm getting pretty good at intro. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. April, hey, how are you doing, darling? Darlene? Who else we got? Is there anybody hiding in the back there? I see you back there hiding. You ain't fooling nobody. I see you. You're right there. If you can't speak, give me a number 1. How's everybody doing this fine Sunday evening? Y'all ready to get in the weeds? I'm ready. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm getting there. I'm chilling. I only got a minute. Well, come on, man. What can I give you in a minute? You got to stay with me at least 30 of them. I know you don't want to stay for the whole thing, but come on, man. Come on, man. It's a thing, you know. I'm in a good mood. I'm having fun today. It's 81 degrees, so if you hear a little strangeness going on in the background, that's my fan going. I've got the noise suppression turned up to maximum levels, but you may still hear it, especially if I get quiet. I'll try not to. It's nuptial night. Well, night ain't here yet. It's only 8 o'clock. You can do your nuptials at 9 o'clock, can't you? Or 10 o'clock. Anyway, as I was saying, it's hot in here. So I got my fan on. If it bothers you, let me know and I'll turn it off and just sweat through it. But I think it's all right. Anyway, we are on Exodus 25:23, I believe that's what it is. 25:23. Chapter 25, verse 23, Exodus. That's where we're at. So get your Bibles out and get them ready. Now, we've already built the Ark of the Covenant. We're in the process of building the tabernacle and the things that go in the tabernacle. And we're getting ready to start figuring out how the government is supposed to be laid out. That's going to happen in Deuteronomy mostly, but it starts here in Exodus. They're laying out what society should be and how it should function. And that's where we're going. It's good, can't hear it. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Sounds kind of like a fish aquarium on my end. Like I can hear it just gurgling a little bit through my speakers, but maybe it won't translate through the live stream. Anyway, it's hot, hot, hot today. A lot hotter than it's been being, and I'm happy. I got out and rode my bike a while. Went and seen a good friend of mine. Hung out with him for a while. It's nice. It's nice catching up, being able to get out of the house and not be frozen. Good. Good. So the fan's not an issue. Excellent. Nice hot cup of coffee. Brains on fire. Ready to go. Let me see. Get some words up here for you. Oh, that's where we are. Now, before we get started, I want to lay out a couple of things for you, dispel a couple of myths. The Ark of the Covenant is not a magical item. It does not have any power. It is not a weapon. It is not an energy source. People have a tendency to embellish and find drama where there is none, and this is no exception. You can find information all over the internet, all over TV about what the Ark of the Covenant may be. I will tell you what it is. Have you ever seen a welder carrying a bucket? And it's a bucket. It's got all his tools in it. And they put a rope in it. They take the handle off and put a rope in it so they can strap it over their shoulder. And then they take the lid and they put padding on it and cover it with duct tape and screw it on. So they've got a place to sit and a place to keep all their tools, and they can be mobile at a moment's notice. Just pick up and carry. That's what the Ark of the Covenant is. It's an ancient welder's bucket. It's a box. Inside the box, there are 3 items. There's a bowl of manna, which would be bread. There's a piece of a staff that budded. And there are the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments, to be kept as posterity. One of those items God physically touched with his own hands. The other 2 he influenced by way of Moses. But they are the archetypes, the relics of that era. That's why they're kept in the Ark of the Covenant. Aside from that, the Ark of the Covenant functions as a seat or a throne, as it were. So the tabernacle is like a tent revival in that it's mobile. You can set it up. It has a frame, and then they cover it with skins, and then they make a tent out of it, and then they put the furniture in it, and they put the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies, which is the little room in the center, back center of the building, or the tip of the cross if you're looking at it like a cross, the way it's designed. And they can pick it up and carry it at a moment's notice. You see, the Israelites have not found Israel yet, or Jerusalem, so they're still traversing through the desert as nomads. They're like the Bedouin people. They just kind of traveling right now. So they carry the tabernacle with them. Now, the Ark of the Covenant, God said for the Levites to bear it. The Levites are the priest line of the 12 tribes. They're 12 tribes of Abraham, of Jacob. His sons, there's 12 sons, and each one is the head of a tribe. And the Levites were deemed to be the priests. Judah is the king line, Levi is the priest line, and God said only they can touch it. Anybody else touches it and he'll strike them dead. Why? Maybe God don't like germs. I don't know. He doesn't want anybody touching it. That's then or now. When they finally dig it out of the hole that it's in, I imagine it's going to be a problem. Because God said don't touch it. I'm not going to touch it. You better not touch it. You let them find out for their own if they want to touch it or not. I'm not going to be there. But it doesn't hold any inherent power of its own. It's just a box and a seat. And God is the one who strikes people down for touching it. So there's that. The tabernacle also has no inherent power. It's just a church. Well, they would call it a gathering place. We call it a church because that's what we're used to. And with that, let's get into it. Chapter 25, verse 23 of Exodus in your Old Testament Bible, King James Version. Let's go. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. That's a pretty thin, tall table to put food on. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, and make thereto a crown of gold round about, like a little lip around the top of it. Hold on. There we go. And thou shalt make unto it a border of an hand breadth round about. Thou shalt make a golden crown to the border thereof round about. So the lip around the table is about a hand breadth tall. I guess so nothing can fall off of it. Thou shalt make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border shall the ring be for the places of the staves to bear the table. That means they can pick it up and tote the table. It's pretty heavy. It's made of gold and wood. Thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. I think God might be related to Trump. He likes gold a lot. And the table may be borne with them. Pick it up just like the Ark of the Covenant and tote it along as they go. See, he's making this whole thing mobile, so you can pick it up and move it. Could you imagine dudes trying to tote a table across the desert the way we would move a table? No, you go left. No, you go left. The other left. Wait, put it down. My back hurts. And thou shalt make dishes thereof, spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal. Of pure gold shalt thou make them. And thou shalt set upon the table showbread before me always. In other words, don't ever let the table be empty of food. Ever. Always have bread on the table. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers shall be of the same beaten gold. That is a menorah, by the way, in case you didn't know. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, and the branches of the candlestick out of one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. That's 3, 3, and 1 in the middle. That's 7 candlesticks. 3 bowls made like unto almonds. That's the shape of an almond. With a knop and a flower. A knop is the thing that puts the flame out. Oh, that reminds me, before we go any further. Last Sunday, we come across a word called Ephod. Do you remember that? And I told you that it was the little thing that the priest moved back and forth that smoked. I was wrong about that. It is a similar word, but it's not ephod. What an ephod is a tunic without sleeves. It's like a tank top. It's like a breastplate without arms. So when they wore their armor, they had a breastplate that had jewels in it. Right? And that was the ephod. That's what that is. So that mistake I won't make again. If I come across a word that I'm not sure of, I'll look it up on the spot. That way you don't have to be confused while I figure out what I remember and what I don't. Anyway. 3 bowls made like unto an almond, with knops and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like unto almonds on the other branch, with a knop and a flower. So in 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And in the candlesticks shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knops and flowers. And there shall be a knop under 2 branches of the same. You hang it underneath the branch. And a knop under 2 branches of the same. And a knop under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. So in other words, you put the candle out with its knop. Each one has its own knop and its own flower where the candle sits, I'm assuming. Their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. That the whole thing should be made out of one piece of gold. And thou shalt make 7 lamps thereof. A lamp is a little different than a candle. They run on oil, not on wax and wicks. And they shall light the lamps thereof, that they may give light over against it. And the tongs thereof, and the snuff dishes thereof, shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it. A talent is a measurement of gold, what we would think of as a brick of gold. It had a specific weight. I don't know what the exact dimensions of a talent is, but it's like a brick of gold. Beat that out, and it'd probably cover the length, the width of like a king-size bed if it's beat out thin as tinfoil. With all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount. Apparently, when he was in the mountain, God showed him a pattern, probably something like pomegranates and pine cones or something like that. I don't really know. It's not very specific here. Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work, thou shalt make them. That's 10 sheets of fine linen, woven in blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims made inside of them. Like, you know how a tent has a pattern in it? these would have cherubim patterns inside of the weaving, like an Indian blanket. The length of one curtain shall be 8 and 20 cubits. That's a big curtain. And the breadth of one curtain shall be 4 cubits. That means it's long and slender. Probably to go over the top of the tabernacle, and 8 of them. And every one of the curtains shall have one measure. The 5 curtains shall be coupled together, one to another. That means attached like so. The other 5 shall be coupled one to another. That means attached like so, to cover more space. Thou shalt make loops of blue upon the edge of the curtain from the selvage edge. I don't know what a selvage is. In the coupling. I'm assuming that's the folded over edge of the curtain. It probably has a grommet in it so you can put a loop. And likewise thou shalt make in the uttermost edge of another curtain in the coupling of the second. 50 loops shalt thou make in the one curtain. That's 50 different spaces to tie it together to the next curtain. And 50 loops thou shalt make in the edge of the curtain that is in the coupling of the second, that the loops may take hold of one another. And thou shalt make 50 tacks of gold, and couple the curtains together with the tacks, and it shall be one tabernacle. So in other words, you attach all of them together with loops, and then you put a tack in it to make it where it won't come apart. I'm assuming that's something akin to how you put a manila envelope together and fold the little tabs over. You make a loop and then you put a thread through it or a tack through it of gold, and that holds it tight. So when it pulls apart, it can't get past the tack. That keeps the curtains together whether there's wind or not, or whatever. So anyway, it's a pretty spacious area when you get, if you think about the dimensions of each one of those ribbons of linen or animal skin or whatever it may have been, that covers a pretty big area. Several hundred people would be able to get into this tabernacle at one time. It's bigger than like a revival tent. If you've ever been to one of those, it's bigger than that. And that's assuming that it goes all the way to the ground. It may just be a roof. There may not be any walls. I don't know. Thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to be in covering upon the tabernacle. 11 curtains shalt thou make. All right. Now this is the animal skin that goes over the linens to keep it from being make it rainproof or whatever. So you got the linens, and then you got animal skins over top of it. 11 of them. The length of one curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain shall be 4 cubits. What's a cubit? Just so you know, whoever the king is, or whoever the pharaoh is, that guy, from his elbow to the tip of his finger, is 1 cubit. The tip of his middle finger. That's 1 cubit. So this is 1 cubit for me. So if I were king, that's what the size would be for a cubit. Either way you look at it, it's roughly about the same for every man, unless they have an extraordinary large arm. Most men have about the same length of arm. So a cubit is about 1.5 feet, 2 foot. So 30 of those. And the curtains shall be all of one measure, meaning they're all exactly the same. 30 cubits by 4 cubits. That's long and slender. They go over top of the linens. And thou shalt couple 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. That's 5 over here and 6 over here. And thou shalt double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle. Double it, meaning that's the door that you go through. And thou shalt make 50 loops on the edge of one curtain, that is the outmost in the coupling, and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which coupleth the second. Same thing, 50 loops, 50 tacks of brass this time though, not gold. And thou shalt make 50 tacks of brass, and put the tacks into the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be one. Now, the first set, all pure gold tacks. The second set, all brass tacks. Now you know where the term brass tacks comes from. You're welcome. And the remnant that remaineth of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remaineth, shall hang over the backside of the tabernacle. So that'll give you an idea how they put it together. They put 5 across this way and 6 across this way. And the half that remains will hang off the backside. By the way, there have been people that have put this together using these measurements and have made tabernacles, and there are videos about it. You can go look, check them out, how they put it together. I've done so, but I can't remember all the details now, and it's not pertinent to the conversation as it's going to be told to us in the Bible anyway. But if you're interested, there are videos that will tell you how the tabernacle was constructed and what it looked like when it was finished. And a cubit on the one side, and a cubit on the other side of that which remaineth in the length of the curtains of the tent, it shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side to cover it. Those are the sides and the back. So it does have walls. At least it has hang downs. I don't know if they go all the way to the ground or not, but they definitely hang down to keep the sun out. And thou shalt make a covering for the tent of the ram's skins dyed red, and the covering above the badger skins. So not only do they have goat skins, but they have ram skins and badger skins. That's 4 layers. This is a pretty thick building when they get done constructing it. So nothing's getting through. And thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood standing up. 10 cubits shall be the length of one board, and 1.5 cubits shall be the breadth of one board. That's a pretty big post. 2 tenons shall there be in one board. Do you know what a mortise and tenon is? That's where there's a hole and then there's a peg and it slides together like so. So there's 2 tenons in each board, set in order against one another. Thus shalt thou make for all the boards of the tabernacle. So when they stand up these posts, they have crossbars that go between them, 2 on each board, right? So it's posts with 2 side boards going down. And they're mortise and tenon. They're stuck together like that, like a rabbit joint. Thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle 20 boards on the south side, southwards. And thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. So the board has holes in it, 2 holes, and inside of the hole is silver. So it's not wood touching wood. There's silver in between the wood, right? That's interesting. I guess that's so that it doesn't rot. I don't know. And for the second side of the tabernacle, the north side, there shall be 20 boards, and 40 sockets of silver, and 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle, westward, thou shalt make 6 boards. So 20 this way and 6 that way. And 2 boards shalt thou make for the corners of the tabernacles in the 2 sides. That's a T-joint, in case you're not a carpenter. Each side has to come together in a joint, so there's 2 boards on the sides, the corners. That's to give it strength. And they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it unto one ring. Thus shall it be for them both. They shall for They shall be for 2 corners. And I'm guessing that when you put the 2 together, then you put a ring on it, on the top and on the bottom. That keeps them from coming apart. So they didn't have nails in those days, so I guess they're using gold rings or something. Wouldn't make sense for it to be gold because gold's pretty soft, and it doesn't say gold here, it just says ring, 1 ring. And they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. Thou shalt make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 for the boards of this side of the tabernacle, and for the 2 sides westward. All right. What this is describing, in case it's getting confusing to you, is the shape of a cross. Right? The building is shaped like a cross. It has 2, a west and an east side, and a north and a south side. And in the middle is the Holy of Holies up at the top of the cross. And the middle bar in the midst of the board shall reach from end to end, that goes all the way across the side. And thou shalt overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold for places for the bars, and thou shalt overlay the bars with gold. So the whole thing, the whole structure is made of wood and then overlaid with gold. I wonder if those things still exist somewhere. And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof which was showed thee in the mount. In other words, you set it up like you do a tent. You put one side together and then you raise it up. And then you attach it to another side that's put together, kind of like putting up studs. You build the studs on the ground, and then you raise the whole wall up at one time, and then attach it to the next set of studs. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet, fine twined linen, of cunning work, that means very pretty. With cherubims shall it be made. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold, upon 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the tacks, and thou mayest bring in thither, within the veil, the ark of the testimony, which is the ark of the covenant. The testimony was first, the covenant was second. In case you're curious, a testimony is a statement, and a covenant is a promise. And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy. What's the most holy? The mercy seat, the Ark of the Covenant. In the Holy of Holies, the room in the center of the tabernacle, up top, center top, there's a room partitioned off with linens, and inside of that little tent within a tent is the Ark of the Covenant, and the only person allowed to go in there is the high priest, under the condition that he's dressed in the proper attire, wearing an ephod and a breastplate with jewels, his whole suit, and he must sacrifice and sprinkle blood on the mercy seat and walk in backwards. Jewish people, go figure. And thou shalt put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. In other words, you don't put the seat on until it's in the room. And thou shalt set the table without the veil, the showbread table outside, and the candlestick over against the table on the other side, on the side of the tabernacle towards the south. And thou shalt put the table on the north side. So that's candlestick, table. And thou shalt make an hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, wrought with needlework. That's like knitting. So this isn't just linen, it's knitted together, so you can kind of see through it, kind of like a knitted blanket. Thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold, and thou shalt cast 5 sockets of brass for them, not silver, brass. So apparently whatever kind of metal, it matters. And thou shalt make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be 4 square, And the height thereof shall be 3 cubits, so about waist height, a little bit above waist height. And thou shalt make the horns of it upon 4 corners thereof, and his horns shall be of the same, and thou shalt overlay with brass. And thou shalt make his pans to receive his ashes, and his shovels, and his basins, and his flesh hooks, and his fire pans, and all the vessels thereof thou shalt make of brass. So all of the things used to kill the animal, separate the animal, drain the animal's blood, burn the animal, and then take the ashes down, all made of brass. And thou shalt make for a grate of network of brass, so a grate so that the ashes can fall through. And upon the net shalt thou make 4 brazen rings in the 4 corners thereof, so that you can lift it up, I would imagine. And thou shalt put it under the compass of the altar beneath, that the net may be even to the midst of the altar. So it's in the middle. You go underneath and take it up. And that's how the ashes get cleaned. And thou shalt make staves for the altar, so you can pick it up and tote it. The staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with brass. And the staves shall be put into the rings, and the staves shall be upon the 2 sides of the altar to bear it. Pick it up just like the Ark of the Covenant, just like the showbread table and everything else. He likes rings and staves so that the people can tote it across the desert. Hollow with boards shalt thou make it, as it was showed thee in the mount, so shall they make it. And thou shalt make the court of the tabernacle. That's the little area outside the front door. See, the tabernacle was not only a building, but it had a fence that went around the outside of it also. And the front part of it, the length of it was there. So that was the courtyard. So you went in through the fence, front gate, gathered in the courtyard, and then all gathered inside of the tabernacle from there. Courtyard of the tabernacle. For the south side southward there shall be hangings for the court of fine twined linen of 100 cubits long for one side, and 20 pillars thereof, and their 20 sockets shall be of brass, and the hooks of the pillars and their fillets should be of silver. I don't know what a fillet is, but I imagine that's where you put a hook and fillet. And likewise, for the north side, in the length there shall be hangings of 100 cubits long, and 20 pillars, and their 20 hooks, or their 20 sockets of brass, and the hooks, and the pillars, and their fillets of silver. And for the breadth of the court, on the west side, shall be hangings of 50 cubits. So 20 on one side, 50 on the other. So that'll give you a long way and then a short way across the front. Their pillars 10 and their sockets 10. And the breadth of the court on the east side, eastward, shall be 50. We're back to 50. And the breadth of the court on the east side shall be 50. I read that. The hangings of one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits. That means that the gate is taller than the rest of the fence. Their pillars 3, their sockets 3. And on the other side shall be hanging of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. So there's 2 gates taller than the fence, 3 boards across each one. I hope this is making sense. This is kind of hard to picture while talking. And for the gate of the court shall be an hanging of 20 cubits of blue and purple and scarlet, fine twined linen, wrought with needlework, and their pillars shall be 4, and their sockets shall be 4. That's the courtyard's gate that goes in the inside of the courtyard. And all the pillars round about the court shall be filleted with silver. Their hooks shall be of silver, and their sockets of brass. So I'm guessing that there's a main gate, and then there's a door on either side of the fence that goes around the outside of the tabernacle. So you can come in from 3 different directions. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 everywhere. So that's a big rectangular fence around the cross-shaped tabernacle. The height of 5 cubits of fine twined linen, and their sockets of brass. All the vessels of the tabernacle, and all the service thereof, and all the pins thereof, and all the pins of the court shall be of brass. And thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring thee pure olive oil, olive beaten for the light, so that's light whipped olive oil, to cause the lamps to burn away always. So the people that come to the tabernacle should bring their beaten olive oil to keep the lamps burning. That's you could attribute that to tithing, to keep the church going. It's required that the congregation give a little to make sure that everything runs smoothly. In this case, it's olive oil. In a place that has electricity and running water, it's money. But you know what I'm saying. It's the congregation helps the church move forward. In the tabernacle of the congregation, without the veil, that's outside of the holiest of holies, which is before the testimony, that's the Ark of the Covenant, Aaron and his sons shall order it from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever unto their generations on the behalf of the children of Israel. That means from evening until morning, they should be outside of the holies of holies preaching to the congregation always when the tabernacle is set up and going. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty. So it's not just for God, it's to look good also. Big special garments. And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate and an ephod, that's a sleeveless tunic of some kind, and a robe, and a broidered coat on top of that robe, a mitre, and a girdle. I'm assuming that a mitre is a belt of some sort. Let me look. Let me make sure I got that right. What is a mitre? Oh, a tall headdress worn by bishops. There you go. That's what a mitre is. Interesting. And a girdle, I know what that is. That's to keep your big gut in. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen, and they shall make the ephod of gold and of blue and of purple and of scarlet and of fine twined linen with cunning work. That means to embroider it with, symbols and such. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces thereof joined at the 2 edges thereof, and so it shall be joined together. So he's basically building out armor, because when you go into the Ark of the Covenant, apparently you need to be wearing armor. And the curious girdle of the ephod, which is upon it, shall be of the same according to the work thereof. That means also embroidered. Even of gold and purple and blue and scarlet and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones and grave on them the names of the children of Israel. 6 of their names on 1 stone, and the other 6 names of the rest. That's 12 tribes, 6 on each shoulder, in black onyx. On the other stone, according to their birth. That means in order of birth. With the work of an engraver in stone. Make it pretty. Don't scratch it on there like a moron. Like the engravings of a signet. Thou shalt engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. That means gold and then black onyx set in it like a ring almost, like a centerpiece, and then placed on the shoulder pieces. And thou shalt put 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord. That's all capital letters. That's Yahweh, the holy God, the mighty God himself. Upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. And thou shalt make ouches of gold, and 2 chains of pure gold at the end. Of wreathen works shalt thou make them, and fasten the wreathen chains, that's twisted up chain, on the ouches. So apparently they had chains running from one onyx stone to the other. Or maybe they draped down this way. One way or another they draped. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment. What is that? That's the judgment of man. This is a symbol of that judgment. A breastplate is just a square plate that goes over the breast. With cunning works, after the work of the ephod, thou shalt make it, of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen, thou shalt make it. 4 square it shall be, being doubled. That means folded over. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. Now, I'm not exactly sure how big a span is, but I'm guessing about that big. So when it said 4 square, picture a box, and you flay it out, right? So you fold it this way, you fold it this way, you fold it this way, and you fold it that way, and you have a thick, flat breastplate. And thou shalt set in the settings of stones, even 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, right across the breast, of stones. The first row shall be of sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. Sardius, topaz, carbuncle. But there's 4 rows. And the second row shall be an emerald, and a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row, a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. So there's 4 rows this way, and 3 rows this way. And they shall be set in gold in their enclosings. Just like on the shoulders, there's a gold setting, and then the stone is placed in the setting, and the setting is put onto the breastplate. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is the covering. That's 3, 6, 9, 12. Just like the 12 tribes of Israel. Each one having their own symbol in stone. These stones are all emblematic. They're kind of like birthstones, but for the whole tribe, not just one. And the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of the signet. every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes. So each one of these stones would have a name engraved on it, like a signet. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains at the ends of the wreathing work of pure gold. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put 2 rings on 2 ends of the breastplate. That's rings on each corner, I guess, to strap it on. And thou shalt put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the end of the breastplate. So apparently you drape it over you. The chains are what hold it onto your breast. And you got 2 under your arms and 2 over your shoulders. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains shalt thou fasten in 2 ouches, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. And thou shalt make 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate, in the border thereof, which is in the side of the ephod inward. And 2 rings of gold thou shalt make, and put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, towards the forepart thereof, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod. So that's attached to the shoulder plates, it's attached to the ephod, and it's attached to the girdle by gold chains. And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with the lace of blue, and it may be above the curious girdle of the ephod, that the breastplate be not loosened from the ephod. That means it's tied up against it. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth into the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord, all capital letters, continually. It means he cannot go in there without being completely dressed in this setting. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart, where he goeth in before the Lord. Now, what is a Urim and Thummim? I'm not exactly sure what it looked like, but I can tell you what the modern counterpart of a Urim and Thummim is. A Urim and Thummim, imagine a box with a hole in the top of it, and 2 stones, one black and one white. And then you put the 2 stones inside the box, and you shake it up. And then you stick your finger in the hole and grab a stone and pull it out. Now, the equivalent is the black means no and the white means yes. The black means stop, the white means go. The black means left, the white means right. You understand what I'm saying? So a Urim and Thummim is a way to ask God a question when he no longer speaks to man. And apparently he wore it on the breastplate, like hung it on there. But that's what it is. It's an ancient yes or no box, or a magic 8-ball, if you will. That's what a Urim and Thummim is. The Urim is the box, the Thummim is the thing inside, I guess. Now, I don't know what that one looked like or what its function was, but what it did was you ask God a question and you reach in and grab a stone, and whichever the stone, that's the answer to that question. If that in fact was the way they used it. Maybe chicken bones, I don't know. And they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before the Lord. And Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. And thou shalt make the robe of the ephod all of blue. I imagine he looked awful funny too, because he had all kinds of colors going on. And there shall be an hole in the top of it. In the midst thereof it shall have a binding of woven work round about the hole of it, as it were a hole of an hebergoin, that is to be not rent. Now I got to look up what a habergoin is because I have no idea what that is. Hang on. Habergoin. A sleeveless coat of mail or scale armor. Okay. So what this is describing is a poncho. So you have a robe, and in the center of it's a hole where you put your head through. And this robe is made of chainmail, or it's made of scales, or some form of armor. Or it's made to look like that anyway. It may not be that, but it's made to, it's in the image of that. As it were the whole of a habergoin. In other words, so you can't tear it, they went all the way around the hole with woven binding all the way around it to give it strength. So it went around about your neck this way, and it was woven all the way around like to give it strength, so you couldn't tear it. And beneath upon the hem of it thou shalt make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and about the hem thereof, and bells of gold between them. Pomegranate bell around the hem of this poncho, round about it. And a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he goeth into the holy place before the Lord. All capital letters, that's God himself. And when he cometh out, that he die not. In other words, it's pretty dangerous in there. He needs to wear all of this stuff to keep from dying. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and grave upon it, like the gravings of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the forefront of the mitre, it shall be hung over his neck, to hang in front of him a plate of gold that says holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt put on it a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the forefront of the mitre it shall be, and it shall be upon Aaron's forehead. I guess it don't hang over his chest, it hangs over his face. That Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. So apparently this gold plate is to always be on Aaron's forehead from now on. Holiness to the Lord. That is one crazy get-up, let me tell you. If you can imagine it the way I'm imagining it, wow. And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework. And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them, for glory and for beauty. And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, and thou shalt anoint them, that's to put olive oil on their foreheads, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me the priest's office. And thou shalt make them linen breeches, that's pants, to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons, and when they come into the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to the minister into the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. In other words, if they're not pure of heart, they die when they go in. They have to be perfect every time they walk in. It shall be a statute forever unto him, as his seed after him. So that all of Aaron's descendants, those are the Levites, they shall all follow this ordinance. One of you asked me about the Jews and the Gentiles and the differences and the rules that they have to follow, and is the Old Testament part of the law, and should it be followed on until the rest of time? Yes, but only for certain people. The law is laid out for different people, and in this case we're talking about the Levites, and all of the Levites should have to do these things if they are a part of the tabernacle service. None of the other 11 tribes have to do this, just the Levites, just the ones that are allowed to go in to the Holy of Holies. Nobody else is supposed to go in there. They can go in the tabernacle, but they can't go in the Holy of Holies. And this is the thing that thou shalt do unto them that hallow them, to minister unto me in the priest's office. Take 1 young bullock and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread, and cakes unleavened tempered with oil, and wafers unleavened anointed with oil, and wheaten flour shalt thou make them. And thou shalt put them into 1 basket, and bring them in the basket with the bullocks and the 2 rams, and Aaron and his sons shalt bring unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shalt wash them with water. Make them clean, make them pure. And thou shalt take the garments, and put upon Aaron the coat, and the robe, and the ephod, and the breastplate, and gird him with the curious girdle of the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre upon his head, and put the holy crown upon the mitre. Then thou shalt take the anointing oil, and pour it upon his head, and anoint him. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put coats upon them, to cover them up. And thou shalt gird them with girdles, and Aaron and his sons, and put the bonnets on them. And the priest's office shall be theirs for a perpetual statute. That means forever. And thou shalt consecrate Aaron and his sons, and thou shalt cause a bullock to be brought before the tabernacle of the congregation, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the bullock, and thou shalt kill the bullock before the Lord, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And thou shalt take of the blood of the bullock, and put it upon the horns of the altar with thy fingers, and pour all the blood beside the bottom of the altar. And thou shalt take all the fat that covereth the inwards, that's the subcutaneous fat, and the caul that is above the liver, that's the fatty liver part, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and burn them upon the altar. That's the stuff you don't eat, by the way. But the flesh of the bullock, and his skin, and his dung, thou shalt burn with fire without the camp, outside. It is a sin offering. That's the dung, and the flesh, and the skin. That's the sin offering. And thou shalt also take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram, and thou shalt slay the ram, and thou shalt take his blood, and sprinkle it round about the altar, upon the altar. And thou shalt cut the ram in pieces. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the ram is split into 2. And wash the inwards of him, and his legs, and put them unto his pieces, unto his head, and unto his head. In other words, stack it up. You split it in pieces, the legs and the head and the body, the torso, and then you stack it up on the altar. And thou shalt burn the whole ram up upon the altar. It is a burnt offering unto the Lord. It is a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. In other words, he likes the way it smells. Kind of like when you're cooking bacon. And thou shalt take the other ram. Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. Then shalt thou kill the ram, and take his blood, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of Aaron. and upon the tip of the right ear of his sons. This is akin to putting blood on the doorpost when the Passover happened. This is doing it to the temple of God, not the temple of man. So you put it on the right ear, and upon the thumb of their right hand, and the toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. And thou shalt take the blood that is upon the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron and upon his garments, cover him with blood, and upon his sons, and cover them with blood, and upon the garments of his sons, and he shall be hallowed. You want to know how to talk to God? Listen up. Cover yourself with the blood of a goat in a hallowed manner, and his garments and his sons' garments with him. Also, thou shalt take of the ram the fat of the rump, that's the back part, you knew that, and the fat that covereth the inwards, that's the subcutaneous fat, and the caul above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder, for it is a ram of consecration, and 1 loaf of bread, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 wafer out of the basket of the unleavened bread that is before the Lord. And thou shalt put all in the hands of Aaron, and in his hands of his sons, and shalt wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. In other words, shake them about. And thou shalt receive them of their hands, and burn them upon the altar of a burnt offering, for a sweet savor before the Lord. It is an offering made by fire unto the Lord. That's all capital letters. That's God himself. Does this sound gruesome to you? Yes, it's gruesome. But in those days, blood is the only thing that covers sin. This is before Jesus was crucified. So this ritual, however gruesome it may sound, was completely necessary of the time. And thou shalt take the breast of the ram, Aaron's consecration, and wave it for a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be thy part. In other words, that's the part you get to eat, the breast. And thou shalt sanctify the breast of the wave offering, and the shoulder of the heave offering, which is waved. A heave gets waved. Go figure. And which is heaved up of the ram of the consecration, even of that which is for Aaron, and that which is for his sons. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons by the statute forever from the children of Israel. For it is an heave offering, and it shall be an heave offering from the children of Israel of the sacrifice of their peace offerings, even their heave offerings unto the Lord. Apparently, a wave and a heave and a peace offering are 3 different types of offerings. I don't know the significance because this is in ancient times, but apparently it meant something to them. And the holy garments of Aaron shall be his sons after him. In other words, when he dies, his son gets it. The next one in line, the next oldest, gets the main garment to be the priest, and so on. To be anointed therein and be consecrated in them. And that son that is priest in his stead shall put them on 7 days when he cometh into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister in the holy place for 7 days. And thou shalt take the ram of consecration and seethe his flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket by the door of the tabernacle of congregation. So in other words, after they've done all of the ritual stuff, and they've heaved and waved and made peace offerings, sprinkled the blood, and had blood all over their bodies, now they're allowed to eat the sacrifice. 3 different types of bread and certain parts of the flesh of the ram. I guess the bullock was just for God. They burnt that whole thing up. They didn't eat any of that, but they ate one of the 2 rams. The other one gets burned up on the altar. And they shall eat those things wherewith the anointment was made, to consecrate and to sanctify them. But a stranger shall not eat thereof, because they are holy. And it's not just for anybody, it's just Aaron and his sons can do the eating. And if aught of the flesh of the consecration or of the bread remain unto the morning, then shalt thou burn the remainder with fire, and it shall not be eaten, because it is holy. So, if there's any left over, is what it's saying. Once they've eaten, if there's any left over, they have to wait until morning and then burn what's left. Nobody else can eat even the leftovers. And thus thou shalt do unto Aaron and to his sons, according to all things which I have commanded thee. 7 days shalt thou consecrate them. And thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering, for atonement. Sin offering for atonement. Every day they kill a bullock. I guess that's a bull. Maybe it's a baby bull. I don't know. And thou shalt cleanse the altar where thou hast made the atonement for it. And thou shalt anoint it and sanctify it. 7 days thou shalt make an atonement for the altar and sanctify it. Every day for 7 days they clean it, and then they burn a new altar, burn a new sacrifice, and then clean it, burn a new sacrifice every day, and sanctify it. And it shall be an altar most holy. Whatsoever toucheth the altar shall be holy. That's only Aaron and his sons, because they're the only ones that went through the purification. Now, this is that which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 lambs of the first year, day by day, continually. That means every day, 2 lambs, every day, continually. The 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning, and the other lamb thou shalt offer in the evening. And with the 1 lamb, a 10th deal of flour mingled with the 4th part of an hin of beaten oil. A hen is a container, not a chicken. That's an H-E-N, this is an H-I-N. Of beaten oil, and a 4th part of an hin of wine for a drink offering. So not only do they season it, but they give a little to drink with it also, as an offering. And the other lamb thou shalt offer at evening, that's at night, and shalt do thereto according to the meat offering for the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof for sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So they do it both ways, evening and morning. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, where I will meet you and speak there unto thee. If you want to talk to God, this is what you got to do to talk to God. Then, understanding completely that Jesus Christ became the sacrifice. Now, I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but that is an awful lot of death occurring at this tabernacle. Awful lot of animal killing. 2 every day. 1 every day. 2 in the evening, 2 in the morning. That's a lot of cattle. That's how much it takes to cover the sin of man. And that's how much the value of Christ's life was when he gave it willingly. Much more than all of that sacrifice. His sacrifice was that much more valuable. So try and understand, even as gruesome as this sounds, the meaning by it. The meaning is to cover the sins of man. Each type of sacrifice, a wave offering, a heave offering, a peace offering, there's like 10 different kinds of sacrifice. A sin offering, a hey, that looks really good, I'm hungry offering. There's all kinds of offerings going on here. And all of that is to cover the sins of man. That's its only purpose. to sanctify them and make them holy enough, clean enough to go in before the Lord and be ministered unto in his presence. Man can't come unto God in its state because they're like filthy rags. When Jesus died, he bought that whole thing. Wholesale. It's all his. So now man can go directly to God by prayer or by just opening your mouth and talking to your Father like he's there, because he is. You couldn't do that before. You had to go through all this to get to that. Jesus became the thing that allowed this. No more need for a tabernacle, no more need for a Ark of the Covenant or a Holy of Holies or all that sacrifice, just to be able to get close to God. And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and I will sanctify also both Aaron and his sons to minister to me in the priest's office. And I will dwell among the children of Israel and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God. That's all capital letters. That brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and I may dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. All capital letters. The Most High, the holiest of holies, God Almighty. And thou shalt make an altar to burn incense upon of shittim wood. Thou shalt make it. A cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. 4 square shall it be, and 2 cubits shall it be the height thereof. The horns thereof shall be of the same. That's their little tips, little horns. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, and the top thereof, the sides thereof, round about it, and the horns thereof. And thou shalt make unto it a crown of gold round about. That's just to burn incense, which is a different kind of offering, by the way, a different kind of sacrifice. This is getting into libations territory. And the 2 golden rings shalt thou make to it under the crown of it. By the 2 corners thereof, upon the 2 sides of it shalt thou make it. And they shall be for places for the staves to bear it withal. Pick it up and tote it. Thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And thou shalt put it before the veil. That is the entranceway to the holiest of holies. When Christ was crucified, there was a great earthquake, and the earth split open from the cross all the way to the temple of Solomon, and right in up the steps into the building and right up to the veil, and then that veil rent from top to bottom, signifying God tearing it open, meaning everybody's welcome to come in now. Before that, only Aaron and his sons could go in through the veil. Now everyone can go in through the veil after Christ. That's the significance of that veil. Thou shalt put it before the veil, that is by the ark of the testimony, which is the ark of the covenant, before the mercy seat, that is over the testimony, that's the 10 commandments, where I will meet with thee. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning when he dresseth the lamps. He shall burn incense upon it. That means when he goes in to fill the lamps with oil, he goes in and burns some incense too. Make it smell good in there. And when Aaron lighteth the lamp at even, that's at night, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations. Always be burning that incense. Make it smell good. Ye shall offer no strange incense thereon, nor burnt sacrifices, nor meat offerings, neither shall ye pour drink offerings thereon. This is just for incense burning. Don't put anything else on this table. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once in a year with the blood of the sin offering of atonements. Remember that one calf that was taken outside of the camp and burnt? That's the sin offering. Well, once a year, he'll bring the blood of that in and wipe it down on the horns of this table. That is to atone for the sins that incense burns for. Once in a year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, that's all capital letters, that's God himself talking to Moses, saying, when thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their numbers, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord. That is, every man has a price for the Lord. And when Christ died, he bought all of those ransoms. When thou numberest them, that there be no plague among them, when thou numberest them. In other words, you have to give a ransom to every man that's in your camp, and no plague will ever harm them. This they shall give, every one that passeth among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs. That clears it up. A half a shekel shall be the offering to the Lord. That's 10 gerahs. Assuming that's some form of money. Every one that passeth among them that are numbered for 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto the Lord. That means once you reach the age of 20, now you have to give an offering to the Lord every time. The rich shall not give more, the poor shall not give less than half a shekel. That's the price. Doesn't matter who you are, half a shekel, every one. When they give an offering unto the Lord to make an atonement for your souls. Probably it also helps to fund the church. And thou shalt take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shalt appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. See, that money goes into servicing the congregation and the tabernacle and all its needs. You have to have money to make a thing happen. The world goes around with money. That it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before the Lord, to make an atonement for your souls. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also brass, to wash withal. That is a tub. And thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. That means when you get done with the altar, you go to the tub and wash, and then you go into the tabernacle. And thou shalt put water therein. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not. Don't walk in there with dirty feet, people, or you might die. But when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offerings made by fire unto the Lord, so they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not. And it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations. Moreover, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take thou also unto the principal spices. That's the main spices, like salt and pepper and cinnamon and myrrh and all that good stuff. Of pure myrrh, 500 shekels. And of sweet cinnamon, half so much. That's 250 shekels. Even 250 shekels, see? And of sweet calamus, 250 shekels. And of cassia, 500 shekels. I guess shekel is a weight, not just money, but it's the weight of money. After the shekel of sanctuary. And of oil and hin, that's one container of oil. And thou shalt make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of the apothecary. It shall be an holy anointing oil. Do you know what an apothecary is? An apothecary is a store that sells things that aren't medicine, like oil and incense and chicken bones and Eye of Newt and the shavings of a hunchback, things like that. The eyes of a spider. That's where you get it, an apothecary. It's just a store that sells weird oddities. So what they're saying is, just like the oil that you can buy at the apothecary, make this oil. That means 100% olive oil. That's what he's saying. And you separate that oil from the oil you cook with and the oil you use for other things, and you bless it. You ask your Father to make this oil anointable. This is the oil that you anoint with, and it's for no other use. It's separate from the oil you cook with. This is your anointing oil. And this is our people, and this is their tradition, to anoint with the olive oil, 100% virgin olive oil. You can do this yourself. Go down to the grocery store and buy you some 100% olive oil. Take a little bit of it and pour it in a small container and ask God to bless it and to sanctify it and use it to anoint yourself and to anoint your house and to anoint your problems, and watch and see what happens. And thou shalt anoint the tabernacle of the congregation therewith, and the ark of the testimony, and the tables, and the vessel, and all his vessels, and the candlestick, his vessels, and the altar of incense, and the altar of burnt offerings with all his vessels, and the laver in all his foot. The laver in his foot. That means the place where you sit down and wash your feet. And thou shalt sanctify them with the olive oil. You anoint all the things in the tabernacle with olive oil, that they may be most holy. Whatsoever toucheth them shall be holy. And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons, and consecrate them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. Whew. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, This shall be an holy anointing oil unto me throughout your generations. That means even now. Upon man's flesh shall it not be poured, neither shall ye make any other like it. After the composition of it, it is holy. It shall be holy unto you. That's the oil that they used in the tabernacle. Whosoever compoundeth any like it, or whosoever putteth any of it upon a stranger, shall be cut off from his people. So in other words, don't use that anointing oil for anything except for God's people. And for the reason it was designed, that was to anoint the tabernacle and all the things in it. Don't put it on people, put it on the stuff. If you want to anoint men, you got to have a separate olive oil. You can't use that olive oil. It's perfect. And the Lord said unto Moses, Take unto thee sweet spices, stach, and onchia. I don't know what those things are. And galbanum, but they're sweet spices. These sweet spices with pure frankincense, of each shall there be like a weight. Be a like weight. In other words, the same amount of each one. And thou shalt make it a perfume, a confection after the art of the apothecary, tempered together, pure and holy. In other words, mix it up and make it right. And thou shalt beat some of it very small, and put it before the testimony in the tabernacle of the congregation, where I will meet with thee, and it shall be unto you most holy. In other words, make the room smell good. And as for the perfume which thou shalt make, ye shall not make to yourselves according to its composition thereof. It shall be unto thee holy for the Lord. That's his perfume. Nobody else gets to wear it. That's his scent. He's wearing that. Nobody else gets to smell like God. Whosoever shall make like unto that, to smell thereto, shall even be cut off from his people. Nobody better smell like me. If I catch you smelling like me, I'm going to cut you off. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, See, I have called by name Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, the tribe of Judah. That's the king line. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, and in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to devise cunning works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass. You want to know how you learn how to do those things? This is how God gives you those talents. And cutting stone and in cutting of stones to set them, and in carving of timber to work in all manner of workmanship. And I, behold, I have given with him Aholibeb, and the sons of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. In the hearts of all that are wise-hearted I have put wisdom, that they may make all I have commanded thee, the tabernacle of the congregation, and the ark of the testimony, and the mercy seat that is thereupon, and all the furniture of the tabernacle, and the tabernacle and his furniture, and the pure candlestick with all his furniture, and the altar of incense, and the altar of the burnt offerings, with all his furniture, and the laver and his foot. That's the place where you sit down and wash your feet. And the cloths of service, and the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister in the priest's office. And the anointing oil, and the sweet incense for the holy place, according to all that I have commanded thee shall they do. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily, my Sabbaths ye shall keep. That's Saturday. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord that doeth sanctify you. And ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. That's all capital. That's me. Almighty God is who's talking. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. That's for the 12 tribes of Israel. That is not for everyone on earth. You should keep the Sabbath day, but you won't be put to death if you have to make something happen. Just those people during that time. Period. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. That's forever. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. In 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communings with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tablets of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man that has brought us up out of Egypt, out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. We have no idea where he is. He's been gone for 40 days. He may never come back. We're terrified. Make us a god. We need a god. These people are stupid. You understand me? Stupid. They can sit at the foot of the mountain and hear God talking to Moses in the mountain, and they're asking Aaron to make them golden calves to worship. Stupid. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he made it an molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. You sense a little bit of irony here? They're saying that these golden calves that they just made with their own earrings and such are the gods that brought them out of the land of Egypt, when the one that actually did is a few hundred yards away from them on the top of a mountain. that they can see. And Aaron, the priest that God was just describing to Moses should be his high priest, is the one that made it. Stupid people, I'm telling you. Whew. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." All capital letters. Imagine that. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And the Lord said unto Moses, "Go, get thee down, for thy people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves, and they have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. And they have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sanctified thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." And the Lord said unto Moses, "I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people." In the Greek, that's stupid. "Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, that I may consume them. And I will make of thee a great nation." And Moses besought the Lord his God, and said, "Lord, why doth thy wrath wax hot against thy people, which thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt, with great power and with mighty hand? Wherefore should the Egyptians speak and say, For mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against thy people." This is Moses talking to God, telling God to repent. And he did. "Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou swarest by thine own self, and saidst unto them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land I have spoken of will give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tables of testimony were in his hand, and the tables were written on both sides. On the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon the tables. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. War! They've only been there for 40 days, and they're already starting to war. They've already started worshiping false gods. They've already started sanctifying statues. Stupid. And he said, It is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, and he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot. Now Moses is mad. And he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount. They never even got to saw. They never even got to see God's work. These tablets were touched by God, and he smashed them on the ground. He had to recreate them out of his own mind. And he took the calf which they made, and burnt it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. And Moses said unto Aaron, What did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, Let not thy anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people, they are set on mischief. Oh, really? Well, you're the one that made the altar. You're the one that suggested it, Aaron. So you're just as bad as they are. Maybe you need to adjust your beliefs a little bit. For they said unto me, Make us gods, which shall go before us. For as this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him. We don't know where the hell he is. He brought us here and then he left, and he hadn't been back in 40 days. We don't know if he's coming back or not. And I said unto them, whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me, and I cast it into the fire. And there came out this calf all by itself. I had nothing to do with it. You understand? And when Moses saw the people were naked, they were having an orgy right there in the bottom. For Aaron had made them naked under their shame among their enemies. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him. And he said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from the gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man and his brother, and every man and his companion, and every man and his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the words of Moses. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men, killed every one of them. That's what you get for worshiping false gods. That's what you get for putting something before the Lord Almighty. You get murdered, and you deserve it. For Moses had said, Consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon you the blessing this day. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, Ye have sinned a great sin. And now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. Why is it Moses' responsibility? He took it upon himself, I reckon. He should make them go up and atone for their sins. Of course, God told them not to go up into the mountain, so if they went up, they would be dead, which is probably what they deserve. Do I believe in capital punishment? You bet your ass I do. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, Oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and I have made them gods of gold, or they have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sins, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written. And the Lord said unto Moses, Whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of the book of life. That's my book. But you see, Moses is saying, Take me, Lord. These people are stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Punish me. That's a man. That's a man who is responsible for his people. That's what a father does. Therefore now go. Lead the people unto the place of which I have spoken unto thee. Behold, mine angel shall go before thee, nevertheless, in the day when I will visit their sins upon them. You want to know why so many bad things happen in this world, atheists? All you people out there who question me on YouTube and leave me comments saying I don't know what I'm talking about, what kind of God would let so much evil happen in the world? You want to know why? This is why. Because these stiff-necked people keep turning against God and doing what they were told not to do. And in the day that he visits their sins upon them. The only thing that can cover sin is another sin. Don't you understand that? Don't you grasp the concept? An eye for an eye? That's why. That's why evil is in the world, because you will not do what you're told. You will not pay attention. You're so busy with your big head and your big ideas, telling everybody what you know, that you forget to humble yourself before the Lord. That's why you're in trouble. That's why your life hurts. It doesn't have to. It doesn't need to. God doesn't want it to. He built a perfect world. You screwed it up. In the words of the great Robin Williams, I gave you a nice planet and you fucked it up. That's what God feels like. Really. That's a quote. I'm not cussing. He is. But you get the point. You need to stop trying to control your own fate. You cannot. You have no control. You are here. That's it. You're not promised anything. You're not even promised tomorrow. You just wait. That's all you can do. Wait and know that the Lord is God. That's it. There's no other plan. You just wait. The minute you start trying to make gods and control your own destiny and set up your own thing, that's when you get into trouble. You're not meant to do that. That's not why you're here. Therefore now go, lead the people. I read that. And the Lord plagued the people because they made the calf, which Aaron made. That's what all the plagues are about, by the way. And the Lord said unto Moses, Depart, and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt, into the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying unto thy seed, I will give it. And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites, and the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up against, for I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. This is the point where God calls it quits. You see, up until this point, God was willing to be with man. He was willing to come unto man. This is the part where it stops. This is where he says, I'm done. You want it? I'll give you what I promised you. I will keep my word, but I'm done. I'm not coming to you anymore. And he hasn't. Because if he comes, he's bound to consume us all. Because we deserve it. Because of our stiff neck, that's stupid in the Greek, ways. And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments. Oh, now you feel bad because of what you did. You don't feel bad because you did wrong. You feel bad because you got caught. And now the punishment is no longer being able to commune with God. You see, at one time, God would be with us. Now he won't be. For the Lord has said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people. That's in the Greek, stupid. And I will come up into the midst of thee in a moment, and consume thee. Therefore now put off thy ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do unto thee. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the Mount Horeb. They found some of those ornaments at Horeb, by the way. They find lots of little treasures around there. But you see, these people were hoity and highfalutin, and they had all their little ornaments and their little necklaces and their little rings and earrings to signify who they were in stature and in rank. Well, that stuff don't mean anything. I don't care who you are. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care what kind of title you have. I have a few titles myself. You would never know it to look at me, because I don't go around bragging about it. Because it doesn't matter. Those were, things that I achieved for me, for God. It's not for you. You don't need to know what I am. But these people delighted in you knowing how smart they were. They delighted in you knowing how rich they were. Well, that's part of the problem. Pride goeth before the fall. That's the sin. Pride. Self-worth. You need to have worth in God, not worth in self. And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that every one which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp. It's no longer within the camp. And it came to pass, when Moses went out into the tabernacle, that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door, and looked after Moses until he was gone into the tabernacle. And it came to pass, as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord talked with Moses, not the people. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose up and worshipped every man at his tent door. They didn't go to the tabernacle, they stayed home. Probably a smart move. And the Lord, that's all capital letters, that's God Almighty, Yahweh himself, spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. And Moses said unto the Lord, See, thou sayest unto me, Bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. Yet thou hast said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. Now, therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, show me now thy way, that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people. And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Question mark. Who's going to know? Is it not in thou goest with us? Is it not in that thou goest with us? In other words, is it not your goal to go with us? So shall we be separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. God has separated himself from all the people on the face of the earth. And that's what Moses is wrestling with him about, saying, how am I supposed to tell these people that I have grace with you if you separate yourself from everybody? But the Lord's done. He's had enough. Yes, he respects Moses. Yes, he thinks of Moses as a friend. But these people are stupid, and he just can't take it anymore. And the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name. Does he know you by name? Does he? Do you think he does? What have you done that would make you think God knows you by name? And he said, I beseech thee, show me thy glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. This is when God makes it where no man can see him and live. At this point, this is the end of man and God's relationship wholesale. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. That's Jesus, by the way. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cleft of the rock. You remember me telling you about this? This is the only way man can see God. This is Moses that gets this honor, nobody else. I will put thee in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away mine hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. You remember that, Kevin? You remember me telling you that was in the Bible? Here it is. All he could see of God was his ass. He was not allowed to see his face ever again. Nor any man, for that matter. And the Lord said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were on the first tables, which thou breakest. I know you were mad, but damn, I worked hard on those. Do it again. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount. And no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount, neither let the flocks nor herds feed before the mount. And he hewed the 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and Moses rose up early in the morning and went up into the Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, and he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. And the Lord descended in a cloud, and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of the Lord. That would be Gabriel the archangel doing the proclaiming. And the Lord passed by before him, and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and in truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear thee guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, unto the 3rd and to the 4th generation. And Moses made haste, and bowed his head toward the earth, and worshipped. And he said, If now I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray thee, amongst us. For it is a stiff-necked people. Pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. Jesus never saw the face of God. No. Only Moses. You see, before all of this happened, what I'm trying to illustrate here is before this period in time, lots of people saw God. He was coming and going. In the Garden of Eden, he came down and spoke to Cain about his brother, and Cain smarted off to him, which lets you know that this was a regular thing. It was not uncommon for God to be there, because if I saw God, I'd fall down and worship. Cain didn't. He smarted off to him. So before all of this, God came down to everybody. At this time, God's had enough, and he cuts himself off from the people. The only person from this point on to ever have seen God's face was Moses, and then he cut him off and would still allow him to see him, but he would only let him look at him from behind. He wouldn't let him look at his face anymore. No, God spoke to Moses just like he speaks to a friend. Didn't you hear me say that a minute ago? Only Moses. And then he cut him off too. He still let him see him though, but only from behind. And that was only Moses. Nobody else was allowed to even see that anymore. God called it quits. He washed his hands of the whole thing. He's not coming here anymore. At this time. That's what this is about. And the last dealings with man that he had was giving him the 10 Commandments, which Moses broke the first set, so he had to make a second set. I'm getting ready to stop. Hang on. Hold your questions for just 1 minute. Let me get finished. Feature in his hair. Yep. He sure did. Seeing God changes you. And he said, Behold, I make a covenant before all thy people. I will do marvels, such as have not been seen, such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation. And all the people among which thou art shall see the work of the Lord. It is a terrible thing that I will do with thee. Observe thou that which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusite. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for the snare in the midst of thee. In other words, if you try to make a covenant with these people, it will be your undoing. They have to go. This is your land, they have to leave. Lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, cut down their groves, for thou shalt worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice, and thou take of thy daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters go a-whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go whoring after their gods. Don't do it. They have to go. You do not mix with other people. You stay with yours, period. You don't go whoring after other gods. That is a no. Thou shalt make thee no molten gods. Don't you do it. Not once, not even the cross. That's not a god. The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month of Abib, which is a date, by the way. For in the month of Abib thou camest out of Egypt. All that open the matrix is mine. That's all the children that are born unto you are mine. And every firstling among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male, is also mine. Don't you forget that. But the firstlings of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem. If you don't redeem him, you break his neck, period. None shall appear before me empty. And that's where we stop. Yep. 34:20. That's where we stop for right now. I'll be getting a little crazy up in here. Oh, shoot. Now I can't bookmark for some reason. That happens every now and then, and I don't know why. Crap. I'll do it later. 34:20. That's where we're stopping. Please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you'll get notifications when I'm going to be here. Smash that like button like it owes you money, because it sure does owe me some. Share this video with somebody you love. Hey, share it with somebody you hate. Either way works for me just fine, long as they're coming and watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. Bless me, curse me, question me, cuss me. Anything you want to do, you just bring it on. As long as you're thinking with your mind, that's what I want for you. And if you appreciate this ministry and you think we've helped you and we have the capacity to help other people, please take a moment and go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win-win-win-win. It's a blessing for you. It's a blessing for me. Everybody's happy. Thank you. And with that, I will take your questions and comments. Hey, I'm back. All right. Man, that was intense. I got a little nippy up in here. Yes, he did. After Moses had a very brilliant feature and his hair and face was changed. Yep. Seeing God will do that for you. I got you. Yes. Wow. Okay. Bravo, Jake. Great job tonight. Thank you very much. I was tripping over my tongue the whole night, but thank you. Let's see if I missed anything. Yes, only Moses got to see him from behind after he called it quits. And no, Jesus, as far as I know, as he was a man, never saw God. Now, what he did after his death, I don't know. But up until his death, he never saw God. Who's still with us? Anybody? Wow. We managed to keep all 5 of you. Ooh. Mac, are you out there? Text me a 1 if you're watching. I know you can't type very well, but just bang your fingers on the keyboard and leave me something. If I can't read it, I'll know it's from you. Supposed to have some new people here tonight. Supposed to have. The Hittites were a great empire in Assyria, yes, and they were also evil and not entirely human, by the way. Fought the Egyptians to a standstill. The great empire was destroyed by civil war when the sons of the great king fought for power. And who was that great king? Do you might know? Yeah, that's amazing that Jesus never saw God either. He was a man just like we are. He was here for an example, which means he couldn't have any advantage that we didn't have. God, aside from his ability to heal, had no advantage that we have. He was a man, period. He was not supernatural. He was gifted the gift to heal after he began his ministry. I'm not entirely sure he could do that beforehand. I don't know. Have you ever seen the history documents about them? Wow, what an army. I've seen some stuff. I tend to not watch History Channel, though, because they lie about an awful lot. Yes, you did have 8 here earlier. Okay, good. Maybe they got bored with the descriptions of the tabernacle, which is kind of hard to read through. But after God started talking, that's when it got exciting. I cannot recall his name, but he almost defeated Tut. Yes, Tut. That's Tutankhamun, whose name was Tutankhaten beforehand. His name was renamed Tutankhamun. This is something you need to learn about. His father, Akhenaten, was a believer in the most holy God, the highest God, the sun God. He got rid of all the Egyptian gods, moved from Memphis to a new city that he built called Amarna, and was teaching the Egyptians how to worship our Father. They killed him and went back to their old ways. They appointed his son Pharaoh, as it were, and they changed his name from man of God to man of many gods. Aten means sun, Amun means moon. Not the History Channel. Yeah, I understand. You're talking about a proper document. The Israelites were just a minor power in this. That's not true. Where are you, Mama? I'm here. Yay. Did you enjoy it, Darlene? Was that too boring for you? I don't like descriptions a whole lot either, but you got to get through them to understand what's going on. That's the part that people leave out, and that's the part that gives everybody the information to understand what's going on in the first place. I don't know why. That's just the way it was written. The Israelites were not a big army, but they were a powerful army, and they won many battles. And this is before what you're talking about. America should beware of this, as civil fighting is going to happen here. I do agree that, yes. It has been happening. It's been happening for years and years and years. Not always to the tune of a gun, but there's all manner of disagreements in the world, and we're at a big impasse at the moment, which very well could turn violent. The Battle of Kadesh, that was an Israel-fought battle, headed by Joshua, who was one of God's soldiers. And he won that battle. And Cush and several other places. We're going to get into that a little bit later. We're almost to that part. The latter parts of Deuteronomy and the next books up is going to be talking about the wars. And we'll get into the history of those battles and who did what and why. I enjoyed it tonight. Thanks, Jake. I love the preaching. I love you, True, too. Thank you very much, and I love you, True, too. And I'm not preaching, I'm teaching, but thank you. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm doing what God told me to do. I don't care what you call it. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to do something positive for the world. I take no credit for it. Are you doing all right tonight, Mama? I hope so. I'm here, she says. I guess that's a no. Yes, I'm good. Well, thank God for that. I'm grateful. I know you've been through a rough road, and we're all praying for you, pulling for you. You just keep being ornery and keep fighting and don't let nothing get you down. You'll be fine. As for me, April, I've got but one moment left, and I plan on using it for this purpose. Because I don't want to leave this world without having done something. They say if you can't fight, carry bullets, and if you can't carry bullets, make sandwiches. Do something for the war. So that's what I'm trying to do. Something. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a weak thing. I don't know if more than 5 people ever see it. But it's here. If anybody wants it, I put it out there. Aw, I love you, Mama. So true, too. I think I'm dyslexic. I read things backwards sometimes. I will make a stronger effort, though, to look up words that I don't quite understand because I've made an error, and I don't like making errors. Now, I want you to know that what comes out of my mouth is the truth. Even when I make a mistake, I will go back and correct it, but it was a simple error, and the things are similarly named, and I just got it confused in my head, called the wrong thing, but now you got it. It's irrelevant. We were talking about a tank top. Doesn't matter. I will look up words when I don't understand them. I find it absolutely astonishing that the Israelites were able to match the Egyptians when they relied on God. Not a golden calf. That is not a God. You're absolutely right. And let me tell you something. It don't matter if there was 3 or 300 of them. Every time God told them to go into battle, they prevailed. Every time. Every time they went into battle without God's express permission, they got beat. Every time. Let that be a lesson to you. If you do something, make sure you have God's blessing before you do it. Because if He tells you to do it, nothing on earth can stop you. Nothing. If He don't tell you to do it, you're running a fool's errand. Yes, the first part was, but I know you got to get through it. That's right. I was tripping left and right, too. Some of those sentences are hard to get out of your mouth. I can get them in my head, but they fall right over my teeth every time. But we're through it. Oh, and by the way, I skipped the begats, so be grateful of that. That's a separate study, all on itself. But the good stuff, that's coming. And tomorrow we get into some Paul. And Paul was a pretty awesome dude. But yes, Israel was able to pull off some astonishing battles. They went up against people in the numbers of like 300,000, and there wasn't but just a few of them, and they managed to win. By sheer cunning and by God sending angels. There was one army that they fought. They never even raised a sword to them. They went up to them, and in the middle of the night, God sent angels through their camp and scared the hell out of them, and they took off running. That's how they won that battle. Just by terrifying them with angels running around, knocking things over and making noises. Scared them all to death. They never even had to raise a sword at them. Another time, they went into a town and pulled out some horns and trumpets and started stomping their feet and blowing their trumpets, and they walked around the city 7 times, and when they got done, the whole city wall fell. Done. Battle over. No fortification, no battle. So yes, our Father is amazing. He can do anything He wants, and nothing can stop it. The Bible says if you got just the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain over there, be gone, and it'll be gone. You might have to tote it one rock at a time, but you can move it if you have enough faith. I'm doing real good. Thanks for the prayers. I love you. Was that God tell them how to build? Yes, God was telling them how to build the tabernacle, you mean? He was giving the instructions, yes. He had it all laid out, and He told them exactly how to do it, down to the little thumbtacks that held it together. You see, God has always wanted to be with man. That was His initial plan. That's what He did. He came down every day. But man screwed that up. Their stiff-necked ways, their dumb ideologies, and their self-righteousness just turned God off. He wanted to just destroy him right then and there, and Moses reminded him that he made a promise. And so God repented. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so mad. I know I made a promise, but you guys are dumb. I just want to burn you up. Yeah, but you promised. Okay. Well, you're not going to see me anymore, but I'll keep my promise. And that's the way it went. And I hate that, because I would love to meet God without dying. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you love to just ask Him a few questions? I'd like to just have one of those Urim and Thummim things. Just ask some yes or no questions. I'm pretty good at putting one thing together with another thing and coming up with a third thing, but I'd like to know if I'm right on some of those things. I guess you could make your own, but I don't know if it'd work. Because there's no mention of where that thing came from, or how they came about that idea in the first place. But it's pretty amazing. Y'all got any questions left? Anything burning a hole in your brain you want me to quelch before I go? Excuse me. No? Going once. Going twice. 3 times a lady. Do you think we even meet God when we die and are in heaven? Well, that's a good question. I think some of us do. I think some of us can't. the Bible says that you'll be able to see where he's at. Like when you're there. But actually, heaven comes here. That's another misnomer. We don't actually go to heaven. It comes here. And this earth is heaven. This is the place. God created this place to be inhabited. Then it became void and without form. Then he will recreate it to be itself again. No oceans, no high mountains, just like it was in the first place. Lots of land. And it'll be dark, but there'll be light, but not the kind of light that we're accustomed to. There may be an ultra spectrum light. And we will be able to see God, but not get close to him. Only the righteous can get close to God. And I don't think we fit that bill. Especially you. But I don't know about you. I'd be happy being the guy that sweeps up outside the first of the gate, you know. Just pitch me a tent right there at the gate. That's fine. It's close enough. I'm good. As long as I'm included, that's fine. I don't need to be all up in everybody's business. What do you think? I do think some of us get to meet God, though. It depends on what your life is like. You know, God talks about people getting garments according to their works. You know, some get a crown, some get a robe, some are naked. I guess it just depends on what you do in your life that gets you closer to God, or if you lived a righteous life, if you sinned a lot or whatever. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it's pretty clear in the Bible that some of us get to be close to God, and some of us get to be on the outskirts of town, but we all get to be in heaven, you see. That was my favorite podcast. Awesome job. Thank you, sir. I'm greatly appreciative. I'm going to get better, I promise. He sure was specific. About the tabernacle, the construction, you mean? Yeah, I think so. Wait till he tells Solomon how to build the temple. That gets kind of intense too. Or rather, he tells David how to tell Solomon to build it. David wasn't allowed to build it. David wanted to build it, but David was a warring man. He spent his whole life in battle, and God wouldn't allow him to build the temple. Only a man that didn't see war could build the temple. I guess for cleanliness or whatever. And also he couldn't use tools to build it. It had to be made not with hands. That means that angels built it. Or something. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I know that they didn't use hammers and they didn't use chisels and things like that. They didn't strike any of the stones. How they wore them down to shape, I don't know. I would assume some kind of help from demons or angels or something. There is lore. It's not biblical. It's not in any Bible or any book concerning the Bible, but there is history of Solomon having the ability to control demons through some sort of jewelry, a ring or whatever, or necklace, who knows, talismans of some kind. I don't know how true that is. Like I said, it's not biblical, but it is out there in the world that he was able to summon and control demons at his will, or angels. And now, keep in mind, the word demon is not in the Bible proper. Yes, it's in there, but it was added because there's not a word in our language to describe what a familiar spirit is. There is no such thing as a demon like we see in Hollywood movies and stuff. That's not real. A demon is just a fallen angel, an angel that has lost grace with God. They're still angels. They're just on the wrong side. So, I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's true or not. I just know that it exists in lore, like in legend. And that would explain how he could build the temple without using tools. or any hard labor. Of course, it also could explain why it got knocked down 3 times, too. It wasn't very sturdy. It wasn't exactly put together very well, if you know what I'm saying. That was the first time it was built. Now, the second time it was built, I think they used tools because I think other people rebuilt it. But the first time when Solomon had it built, it was made not with hands. Interesting stuff, man. This whole Bible thing's got a lot more in it than you thought it did, huh? For those of you who haven't read it. Some of you have. We go to paradise. Yeah, but paradise is on this planet. Sorry to, if that's not what you were expecting, but that's where you go. Right where you are. I'm not entirely sure we ever leave this planet. I think once we're put here, we're here forever. I know that when you die, you cease to exist until Judgment Day. That's when you come back alive. It's not like you're in a hole in the ground. You're not in your body. Your soul goes back to the Father who gave it, where he puts it away, and it's there until Judgment Day. You have no knowledge. It's just like blinking your eyes. You close them and you wake up in Judgment Day. But could be 1,000 years from now. But you don't have any perception of that time. But where your soul is, I don't know. There's some talk in Revelations of there being a chamber beneath the throne where he keeps souls. It could be there. I don't know. All I know is that once you're judged and you don't go to hell, you go to this planet where you live forever. But the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's correct. Let me see if I can illustrate this. Now, this is crude and this is not exactly correct, but it'll give you an idea. This is a meat puppet. It has no ability of its own. It's just meat. This is your consciousness, and it's not part of this. It is attached via a silver cord that goes up to wherever souls are kept, and that's where your soul is. And your consciousness is plugged in Wi-Fi to your brain. When you die, that silver cord breaks when this clay pot breaks, and that spirit goes back to where it came from, back to where that cord came from. Does that make any sense? And then this meat thing just decays and goes back to the dirt. This has no value. You won't need this ever again when you die. Silver cord, yes. According to the Bible. I don't know what that means either, but that's what it says. That you're attached physically. And when that cord is severed, you die. So your consciousness is not part of this body. It's a separate thing, and it goes back when it's done with this body. The essence of you, the thing that makes you you, other than me. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds a little bit hokey, but that's the way the Bible describes it, so I'm trying to make it make sense the best I can. Apparently, we are Wi-Fi driven robots. And when the Wi-Fi goes out, you're dead. We'll get to that when we get towards Revelations and all that. And it'll explain it in more detail. So what are we? Male, female? Or is our souls whatever we think them to be? Neither. I hate to tell you this, but your spirit is neither male nor female. It is ambiguous. It has no desire. It has no feeling. It has no taste. It has no need. That's all flesh. Your carnal desires, the need to mate and the need to procreate and the need to love, and all, that's all gone. They don't do that in heaven. I'm 100% sure that there are things that we're not aware of, feelings and emotions and things like that, that we don't have on this earth, that we will have then, but they aren't the same ones that we have now. They neither give nor take in marriage. You'll know your family, you'll know who they are, but you won't feel that familial connection to them because it's all energy, you know. You'll recognize them, but it won't be like you're beholden to them. They're not like your mom isn't your mom anymore. It's just a person you know, a thing you know. I don't know what it is. Every time I read the Bible or listen to it being read, it speaks something new to me. Yes, because the Bible is pregnant. Every time you go into it, especially if you go into it with the Spirit, you learn something that you didn't know before. Even if you read the same thing, you'll see something you didn't see the last time you read it. Every time. It's a pregnant book. It continuously teaches. The deeper you get, the deeper you learn. The more knowledge you can understand, the more it will give you. Starts out with the milk, ends up with the honey, and then later on gives you the meat. I am a male, a Georgia Bulldog male. Grr. You are right now. You won't be for long. No, I don't think it is. You don't think what is? I didn't catch that. What is that in reference to? The soul being male or female? Is that what you're saying? It's not. All the angels that ever came to this earth were male. All of them. I don't think there are female angels. And I think that that was a perception of man that they were male. I think they were probably ambiguous. And they just perceived them as male. You're probably going to be some form of androgynous thing. Spirit in form. Energy, not flesh. It's kind of scary, actually, to think about. Because, you know, what if the thought crosses your mind, what if I don't want to be that? Well, you just have to wait and see, because you don't know. You don't know what lays ahead of you. Maybe when you get there and your memory is restored to you from the world before and the world beyond and all the things that you know, maybe you'll love it. Maybe that's exactly what you're supposed to be. But right now, as a person, it's terrifying to think of it. Do they have college football in heaven? Probably. I mean, God is a dude, so... I mean, we know he likes some guitar picking, so maybe... How do I know that? Because David was his favorite person, and David was, yes, a guitar picker. What does embroiderers... You mean androgynous? Is that what you're trying to spell? Neither female nor male. Somewhere in the middle. Androgynous. Or ambiguous means the same thing. I think you're out of luck, Kevin. How to spell it? Androgynous, Androgeneous. I don't know. I'd have to write it. Can't keep that many letters in my head. Androgynous. Okay, I learned a new word. Congratulations. Now how about this? Persnickety. I just checked. I am a male. You are for now. Well, I enjoyed it tonight. Thanks, Jake. You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoyed it too. I got a little heated, but I enjoyed it. I get a little mad when I read those things sometimes. It offends me how dumb people can be and the things that they do. Whew. Anyway, it's 10:30, so I better get on out of here. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30, where we break into some New Testament in Acts and see what Paul's up to. I love you. God bless you. God be with you. Say a prayer for everybody. I'd laugh so hard if you're a female. Well, I am kind of pretty. On the other side. Well, you're neither, so you're safe. You are something else entirely that doesn't need a gender. Oh, I know. I know you're playing. Anyway, I love you. God bless you. Have a great night. Enjoy the night. And I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Good night.